doing? Do you snack at night? This is probably the number one thing I get asked about when people find out what I do for a living, which is help people change their habits and patterns around food in a way that works consistently long term. I really work with people. I'm a nutritionist, but I don't talk about meal plans and recipes and all of that stuff. I feel like you have more than enough of that information. My work is really about going one level deeper, right? Really getting under the surface and figuring out why, when we have all the information and we've tried so many things and we have every book and we've read every article and we've listened to everyone, why is it so hard to stay on track consistently long term so that we can actually create the healthy lifestyle that we really, really, really want for ourselves? So that's really what I'm all about. My name is Sarah Best, if this is your first time catching one of my live broadcasts. But today I want to talk about nighttime snacking because, again, it's the number one thing people ask me about. I see Maria saying, yep, yeah, it's the number one thing people say. I do really well all day, Sarah. I, make healthy choices. But then something happens when the sun goes down and I just lose all control. And before I know it, I've eaten all the things. I'm seeing lots of yeses. Yeah, give me a little thumbs up or a yes or something in the comments if this is you. If you know what that's like to, again, feel like you're doing really well all day, like you've got this. But then after a long day or after, whatever's going on, something happens. There's like that witching hour after dinner and somehow something takes over your body and you're suddenly elbow deep in chips or cookies or chocolate or ice cream or wine or whatever it might be. Maybe all of the above. So today I want to talk about 3 reasons why, in my experience, and I've worked with a lot of clients and students in my programs around this whole business of changing these old habits and patterns for good. And we talk about nighttime snacking a lot. And I've kind of distilled it down into like 3 buckets. There's 3 reasons generally for nighttime snacking. And most people fall into one of these, or they could be, you might have all 3. I might describe these and you might be like, yes, Sarah, I like check, check, check. I am all 3 of those things. I do all of those. Or 2 might resonate with you, or you just might be solidly in one camp. But it's helpful to know why we're doing it, because that's what then helps us figure out how to change it, right? We have to know why we're doing something before we can really start to reprogram, rewire that old habit. So 3 reasons. Let's dive right in. The first one is that it's just a habit. It's literally just a habit. Habits all follow a similar structure. There's a cue, like a trigger, something triggers you. And I don't mean that like in an emotional triggering. I mean like could be a time, nighttime, could be a feeling, stress, anxiety, could be a certain person or group of people. Maybe you and your partner always sit and eat potato chips at a certain time. Can be a certain place, when you go somewhere. Sometimes if we go to the movies, we eat popcorn, when we're in our car, we have coffee, something like that. So there's always a trigger, a cue for a habit. Then there's the routine, which is the habit, the thing you do. And then there's some kind of payoff. There's some kind of reward for that. And that reward, that payoff, teaches your brain that the next time it encounters that cue in the world to follow the same routine, to get the same reward. And thus the cycle continues. So sometimes nighttime snacking is just that. It's just a habit. We get to that time of the evening. We have sort of a cue, or usually it's a series of cues. It's like, it's nighttime. We're probably sitting in the same place that we always sit, like in front of the TV, doing the same thing we always do, watching TV or scrolling through the iPad or scrolling through the phone. And so that becomes our cue. That triggers the desire for the snacking, because that's what we've always done. We're not hungry. We're not even maybe sort of emotionally eating or stress eating or anything. We don't even maybe always want it, but we feel compelled to do it. And this is often because it's just a habit. When it's this time of night and I'm sitting on the couch in front of the TV, I just feel like I need this thing. And again, sometimes we're like still full from dinner. We don't even want it. We're not even craving it, but we just feel like we have to have it. So that's habit. Okay. So if that's what it feels like to you, then you might be in the habit bucket. That's the first reason. Second reason I find people snack at night is boredom. So this is sometimes like, I just feel like I need a little something. Or some people say they need something to do with their hands, right? Or, it's like they just the craziness of the day is over. There's a bit of a lull, and you just feel like you need a little something, just need something to do almost, right? So people talk a lot about eating in the evening or eating in general because of boredom. So this is often like sort of like the mindless nibbling, where you're just kind of wandering around the kitchen or like looking through the pantry, and then you're just snacking before you know it. You're not even really aware of it. Um, you're just doing it because you got nothing else to do, right? So that's usually boredom, and that often happens for people in the evening. So that's reason number two. So we have habit and we have boredom. And again, these things go together sometimes, right? Sometimes boredom can be your cue, your trigger for your habit of eating, right? So again, these things all can be intertwined as well. So habit, boredom. The third reason people snack a lot at night, and I think this is a big one, is it's sort of become like a quasi self-care. And what I mean by that is if you've ever fallen into the story around, I deserve this. After the day I've had, after everything that's been going on, after she said that to me, after I had to deal with that, after everything I've done for everybody else, I deserve this. And, whenever you feel yourself saying that, you know that you're falling into this bucket. You're using food as sort of a quasi form of self-care, which, just spoiler alert, food is not, especially the junk food that we are eating at night, the way we are eating at night. This is not an act of self-care. I would argue that sometimes the way we nourish and feed our bodies, if it's done mindfully with whole nutritious food and we're present and we're thankful for it, if that's how we're showing up with our relationship with food, that arguably could be considered self-care. But the way we're eating at night and what we're eating at night is usually not self-care. So that's why I call it like quasi self-care. We need self-care. We're hear the call, right? We know that our cup is feeling empty. We're feeling depleted. We're feeling run down. We're feeling hurt or disrespected or unappreciated or just overwhelmed or just tired. We need self-care. That is your body, that is your heart and your soul saying, I need some love. I need some attention. I need you to fill this cup again. And we're trying to use Doritos to do that. Not going to work. But it's our sort of awkward attempt at addressing that need. So we're trying to use food as a way to sort of love ourselves. And food feels like a good option at some level because it's always there. It doesn't judge you. It doesn't ask for anything. It doesn't question you in any way. It's just there for you. So you can understand why we get confused and we end up substituting Doritos or wine or ice cream for self-love, self-care. But it is not that. So these are generally the three reasons that I find that people end up snacking at night. And again, it could be all three. You could be doing all three, or you could be doing two of them or one of them. But usually this is some version of these three things is what's going on. So let me know in the comments below which of those three you think is which bucket do you fall into? Is it just a habit for you? Is it that you're bored and so you're just kind of eating because it's there, or you just feel like I need a little something, or you're just mindlessly snacking? You don't even really notice it's happening? Or is it like some kind of quasi self-care? Are you trying to nurture yourself, love yourself with food, reward yourself with food? So the first thing to do is to figure out which of those, or maybe all three or two or whatever, that you are in. So let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to see which one resonates with you most. So now let's talk about, once we've kind of identified those, how can we address them? Now that we can kind of get a sense of why we're snacking at night, what do we do about each of those? That's obviously the big question, right? Okay, so the first thing we want to think about, let's talk about habit first. So there's a few things you can do if it's a habit, if you've realized that this is just a habit that I have. One, you can try to change that cue, routine, reward structure a little bit, okay? And you can do that in a few ways. You can, the quickest, sort of most obvious way when it comes to nighttime snacking is probably to work on just trying to tweak a little bit the cue, the trigger. Now, you can't change the fact that it's going to be evening time, right? That's always going to happen. We can't control that. And you might not be able to control the fact that you've like had a long day and so you're tired and all of those things. But you know how I just said earlier that the cue is usually a collection of things. It's not just that it's nighttime, it's that it's nighttime and you're sitting in the same place and you're doing the same thing. And when those things all conspire together, it triggers you to want the snacks. So you can play with that a little bit, right? It's going to be nighttime and you might be stressed and worn down, but you don't have, you can change where you're sitting. You can change what you're doing. So maybe instead of plopping yourself down in front of the TV at the same place every evening, go sit in a different room, sit in a different chair, do something different. Read a book, do a crossword puzzle, do a Sudoku, do a jigsaw puzzle, have a bath, go for a walk, do some yoga, play with your dog, pick up your guitar, color something, paint something, write a poem. We can change that, and thereby rewiring a little bit that cue, that trigger, and thus feeling less compelled to go through that whole cycle of that habit. So you can think about that. If you think you're dealing with a habit, you can think about how you can tweak that trigger. The other thing to do with a habit is, if you don't want to do that, if you're like, no, Sarah, I love my shows at night and that's what I do and I look forward to that all day and I'm just, I'm loving whatever show right now I'm binge watching, and I'm just not willing to go do a jigsaw puzzle. That's fine. You can sit on, in front of the TV or your iPad or whatever you do, but just know that that's going to create the trigger that's going to give you that real strong feeling like you need to complete that routine. That's fine, but you just need to be willing to sit with that discomfort a little bit. And now that you kind of know here what's going on, I think that's a little bit easier, right? You can now sit there and think, okay, I really feel like I want chips and wine right now. Really want it. But I know what's going on. I know that it's just because I'm caught in this habit loop and my brain has these old pathways that connect me sitting here at this time of night and doing this with going and getting chips. So it's just a wiring thing. I just have to sit through the discomfort. And it's kind of like, I always kind of liken it to like, if anything else that you do that's sort of really uncomfortable, like say you were going to get like a tattoo or you had to go to the dentist for something, that it's not going to be comfortable, right? But also that that's just part of the process. And part of the process of breaking an old habit is just the discomfort of it. It's like, well, I want to get this tattoo, but that it's going to hurt a little bit, but then it's going to not, and then you'll have the tattoo you want, right? Or you have to go get a cavity filled, that you're going to go and it's going to like hurt a little bit, but you do it and then you get your cavity filled and then you're not in pain anymore or whatever, right? And it's kind of the same thing when we're changing a habit. We just have to accept that discomfort, and I know it feels icky and I know sometimes it feels like you want to crawl out of your skin, but it's just part of the process of breaking a habit. And then you do it enough times, you'll break it and you'll create a new, healthier habit there. So we have to kind of just be okay with that discomfort. Just like, again, if you were going to get a tattoo, that's part of the package. It's going to hurt a little bit. It's not going to be super lovely. And then it's going to be over and you're going to have what you want. So those are some things you can think about if you are working with a habit. Now for boredom is a little bit trickier. I mean, the answer to boredom is you have to kind of find a way to be less bored. You have to stop using food as your sort of project. And I think the way you can do that, it might sound oversimplified, but is to find a different project. So maybe you really proactively sit down and think about like, okay, I have this thing in the evening where I end up eating because I'm bored. What do I need to put in place proactively? What do I need to do here? What can I create? What can I set up for myself so that I don't feel so bored in the evening? So maybe there's like a hobby you've been wanting to try. Maybe you want to go to the library and get a book about something you know nothing about and just learn something new about sometime in history or a different culture or something. Maybe you want to start learning a new language. Maybe you want to take guitar lessons online. Maybe you want to learn how to cook better. Pick a project. Pick something that you could be your new thing to do, something you can tackle so that you're not finding yourself so often bored. Life is short and there's so much out there to explore and do. And I know that, times might be a little crazy right now, but we can get creative, right? There's still lots of ways for you to explore the world, explore yourself, and learn new things and try new things. And, give yourself a little project, something that maybe you've been wanting, something you've been putting on the back burner. Like, oh, I always wanted to learn how to quilt. Well, maybe this is the time. Maybe you make yourself a little project. So what would be step one? I don't know. Google, what do I need to start quilting? Get a book from the library, Quilting 101. Pick something that, give yourself a little project and make that your new focus instead of trying to use food to entertain yourself. Okay, so that's habit and boredom. Now let's talk about our old friend, self-care. So the problem, as I kind of illustrated earlier, is that, spoiler alert, food is not, at least nighttime snacking, the way we typically do it, eating junk food mindlessly in front of the TV. This is not self-care. This is not self-love. This is not how you treat your body when you really love it. This is not a healthy relationship with food, and you deserve better. So what your body is telling you, though, again, you're halfway there, because what you're doing is you're listening, right? Which is a wonderful thing already. You're listening to your body tell you that it needs something. It's like, I'm tired, I'm sad, I'm lonely, I feel depleted, I'm exhausted, I'm scared. I need you to do something. That's what your body's saying, right? I need you to address this. Now, so you're already listening. You're like, I hear that. I hear that we need some love. We need to be pampered. We need to be taken care of. We need to be cherished. The problem is then we're using ice cream or Doritos or wine. This is the wrong peg in the hole. Doesn't fit. Not going to work. I know for a few moments it feels great. I know you get that little sort of initial rush of, oh, chips or ice cream. But this is not truly addressing. This is not scratching the itch. This is not actually giving your body what it needs in terms of self-care. But again, you're already halfway there because you're listening. You know that your body does need something. So, and I mean your whole body. Like, I'm talking like heart, soul, right? When we're talking about self-care. I mean body, yes, but also really heart and soul too. So this is a little bit about figuring out what would be a better solution. What really would give your body that sense of your heart, your mind, heart, and soul, that sense of filling your cup, of really pampering yourself, really nourishing yourself, body, mind, and soul. And that is not Doritos. That is probably something like sleep, or talking to a friend, or putting on the funniest comedy special and just laughing until your stomach hurts, or reading a funny book, or writing poetry, or dancing to your favorite song like crazy person, or the things that actually fill us up, that actually fill our cup, that actually make us feel full again and connected to who we truly are, and connected to something bigger than ourselves that we're part of. This is not Doritos. This is something deeper. And so if you think about it, you already have a sense of the things you do. They're going to be different than the things I do or the things that your friends do. But there are things you do. For me, it's yoga, it's walking in nature, it's laughing, it's playing with my dogs, it's laughing with my family and just having fun. These are the things that, or talking with a friend, having a really good, just like girl conversation with my friends. These are the things that when I do them, just make me feel full, like my heart is full. And there are things that you do that make you feel that way if you think about it. You might not spend a lot of time doing them. You might not let yourself do them enough. There could be all kinds of reasons. But I think that if you really think about it, if you sit with it, there are things you do that when you leave them, when you're done, leave you feeling like your heart is full. Like you just feel like better than yourself in a way that Doritos do not. Let's be honest. Okay. All right, so I'm so curious to hear. Again, let me know in the comments below which of these buckets you fall into. If you're a nighttime snacker, is it a habit for you? Is it because you're just bored, or is it a form of quasi self care? And it might be all three, or two of them, or just one. But let me know. I'm really interested. And then think about some of these solutions I've suggested in terms of how you can address each one. Right? If it's a habit, think about maybe playing with that cue. Can you change up a little bit your routine at night? If not, if you're like, no, Sarah, I cannot, I have to watch The Voice or the whatever on the couch, is what I do. That's fine. But then you got to be willing to sit with the discomfort of it. Just knowing that breaking a habit comes with it some discomfort. Just like getting a cavity filled at the dentist or getting your tattoo, right? You need you need to do these things, or you want to do them. And just part of the package is a little bit of discomfort. And it's going to be there, and then it's not going to be there. It's going to be fine. If it's boredom, can you kind of give yourself, is there like a project that you could focus on? Could you proactively put something in place that is going to be the new thing that you're going to kind of work on in the evening? That's going to be like your evening project task that you're going to do instead of the nighttime snacking. And if it's self-care, if it's a quasi form of self-care that you're trying to do with the food, what does your heart and soul really need? Really, not Doritos and wine. Like what are the things you could do it, and how could you just work in a little bit of that in the evening? And again, I know that times are strange right now, and if yoga is your thing, maybe you're not going to go to yoga class at 9 o'clock at night, but you could still get down on the floor and light a candle and put on some music and just move your body, stretch, move the way that feels good. There's ways you can work these things into your life. So think about what are those things that you do that do fill you up, do fill your cup, do make your heart feel full. And how can you, again, proactively, consciously think about doing some of that, giving yourself that gift in the evening. Okay, I hope this is helpful. Let me know in the comments below if this is useful, if you're going to try any of these things. Okay, good. I see all your comments here. That's awesome. Self-care, bored and stressed, all three. Habit mixed with quasi self-care, all three. Okay, good. Yeah, excellent. Okay, so you've identified them. So now think about some of those strategies I talked about to help you maybe begin to reprogram and rewire this habit. All right, talk to you soon, guys.